Support for this podcast comes from the St. Alphonsus Neuroscience Institute, offering technology to provide treatment for neurological, neurosurgical, and neurointerventional conditions. This includes a dedicated neurotrauma ICU for critical care of the brain or spine and a 24/7 stroke team. More at stalphonsus.org.
Hi, Scandalized listeners. Charlie and Jackie here with a really exciting announcement.
We're coming back to Podfort in 2026. We'll be live at the Boise Contemporary Theater on Friday, March 27th at 3 p.m.
This year, we're going to be digging into some of the juiciest fashion faux pas in American politics. You won't want to miss it.
We'd love to see our amazing listeners, so bring your friends and come talk scandals with us. And best of all, it's free.
That's Friday, March 27th at 3 p.m. from the Boise Contemporary Theater. See you then.
From Boise State Public Radio News, this is The Connector, Idaho Daily News. It's Friday, March 27th. I'm Troy Oppie. George Prentice is away. Glad you're here with us this morning, though. Here are today's headlines. Boise State says it will examine changing the name of Cesar Chavez Drive on campus. Lawmakers have a loose plan to get to Sine Die, the end of the legislative session. And we meet the Festival Ferry at Treefort. And we start at the statehouse, where Idaho Republicans are close to finalizing new eligibility rules for those receiving health insurance through the state's Medicaid expansion program. Here's James Dawson with more.
Republican Representative John Vanderwoude's bill would force people enrolled in Medicaid expansion to prove they've been in school, working, or volunteering at least 30 hours a week for 3 months before they could get coverage. Vanderwoude says he doesn't want people to qualify for health insurance by working just 1 month.
I like the 3 months because I want to make sure that the requirements that we're putting in are more long-term.
3 months is the maximum look-back period allowed by federal law. Senate Democratic leader Melissa Wintrow says the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare is already overburdened with other projects to take on more paperwork to verify.
I think this will present additional administrative errors that will cause people to get kicked off Medicaid expansion.
About 79,000 people are currently enrolled under Idaho's Medicaid expansion. If passed by the full Senate and signed into law by the governor, Vanderwoude's bill would take effect by December 31st. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
Idaho school districts spend more than $100 million each year on special education beyond what the state already provides for special ed. A bill passed by lawmakers this week would take a bite out of that gap, with $5 million for high-needs students put into a new fund. Yesterday, lawmakers on the Joint Finance Appropriations Committee approved funding that plan, pulling excess money from the driver's education reimbursement account and some career readiness programs to make it work. It's a small step, Senate Democrat Janie Ward Engelking said, with Republican Representative James Petsky noting it's only a short-term solution.
The need is ongoing. We have these students every year, and we have to do something about it. But what we're providing here is just a one-time solution. Because of our tight budget this year, we're going to try to fix this one time this year with these dedicated funds, and we'll look at another solution next year.
State spending on public special education needs is required to earn federal money for special education programs. The program was pushed by State Superintendent of Public Instruction Debbie Critchfield, who initially had wanted $50 million in new dedicated special education spending this year, but had backed off that full request due to the state's projected budget shortfall. Lawmakers initially targeted today for Sine Die, the end of the legislative session. They won't make that, but things are lining up to wrap up next week. House Majority Leader Jason Monks told colleagues on the House floor late yesterday.
We are going to do our best to do as much work as we can by tomorrow, and then we are looking to adjourn until Wednesday and finish up our work on Wednesday and Thursday.
Waiting to adjourn until the middle of next week allows enough time for a response to any potential vetoes by Governor Little. House lawmakers today will continue to see a half dozen new bill introductions in Ways and Means. There are committee hearings for several remaining bills, including the Senate's version of E-Verify legislation that would require some employers to check immigration status of workers against a federal database. On the Senate side of the rotunda today, a new bill on rat abatement is set to get a last-minute introduction. And the Senate State Affairs Committee will take a second attempt at a new House-approved plan for the Idaho Digital Learning Academy after having to hold that bill in a hearing yesterday for more work on potential amendments. The bill would reset the program after a 50% budget cut separately approved by lawmakers. Going beyond the statehouse now, the city of Twin Falls got all A's on a recent external audit of city finances. The Times News reports accounting firm Malky Hunsaker & Co. gave a clean report from its recent review of the 2025 books to the Twin Falls City Council. The report noted good financial reserves and debt service. Twin Falls City Manager Travis Rothweiler told the Times News the city's reserves are now at levels where they can help cover one-time capital project costs instead of the city having to adjust tax or utility rates for those projects. Revenues for the city of Twin Falls rose about 15% last year to $114 million. Meanwhile, expenditures fell by $1.4 million. In Caldwell, the City Council Wednesday approved moving forward with a plan to establish a quiet zone for railroad operations. That designation changes how trains can use their horns while moving through the city. In a special session this week, the council accepted a bid for the installation of additional security features at designated rail crossings. Those are needed if trains will not be announcing themselves with horn blasts. Work is expected to begin in June. Idaho's Department of Corrections announced it transferred 120 inmates to a prison in Arizona due to overcrowding. IDOC says 200 additional male inmates will be transferred out of Idaho for the same reason in the coming weeks. Idaho's male prisons are over 100% capacity, according to a news release announcing the transfers. Nearly 200 state inmates are currently housed at county jails in Jefferson, Bonneville, and Adams counties due to the overcrowding situation. Arizona's Florence Prison, southeast of Phoenix, was the right fit for a partnership, IDOC says, because of availability and operational standards. An IDOC spokesperson did not respond to a request for information on how much it costs to house inmates out of state. Boise State University will examine changing the name of Cesar Chavez Drive on campus. It was named for the labor rights leader in 2006. Allegations of sexual assault against Chavez, who died in 1993, were reported this month by the New York Times. Public entities across the country have been reevaluating or changing holidays or monuments to Chavez in the wake of that report. Boise State says to remain consistent with the process that led to the name change 20 years ago, it will take public feedback from the campus community before deciding to make any change. If the university chooses to rename Cesar Chavez Drive, that process could take several months to complete. To Treefort now, the 14th Annual Music Festival happening in downtown Boise. For the third straight year, attendees might see one particular character in the crowd who wants them to party, but safely. Our Julie Luqueta found him.
I am Andrew Sandquist, better known at the festivals as the Festival Fairy.
Wearing a shiny disco bomber jacket and carrying a sign that advertises free condoms, tampons, and fentanyl test strips, Sandquist bops around crowds and gives out earplugs.
I also have glow sticks, googly eyes, glitter, gum, gummy bears, all the G's.
Originally from Pocatello, Sandquist is not affiliated with Treefort. His nonprofit, called Yes, the Festival Fairy, is a one-man operation.
In my mind, if I give out 100 test strips, that was 100 people that weren't going to test their drugs otherwise.
By walking around and giving out thousands of fun stickers, he interacts with attendees directly.
You guys have test strips?
Yeah. So take a picture of the instructions.
Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid 50 times more potent than heroin that is often added in unknown amounts to illegal drugs. Sandquist says giving out condoms and test strips is not an endorsement. It's about reducing harm.
I think that you should be here able to dance tomorrow, and that's what you should test your drugs and be as safe as you possibly can. If you're going to do them, I don't want you to die.
Treefort runs until Sunday night. Julie Luqueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
And that's your connector on this Friday. If you want to come down to Treefort today, you can catch a live taping of another one of Boise State Public Radio's podcasts, Scandalized, with Charlie Hunt and Jackie Kettler. They'll be taping at 3 o'clock this afternoon at the Boise Contemporary Theater as part of Podfort. Join us then. It is a very busy arts weekend, of course, with Treefort. Opera Idaho has some productions underway. The NNU Jazz Festival is tonight. That's where I'll be, out in Nampa. And of course, tomorrow, a No Kings protest on Saturday is set for the state capitol. Whatever you're doing with this wonderful weather weekend, hope you do it safely and enjoy yourselves. Come back on Monday for the next episode of The Connector.